Hey guys, it's Roscoe on Space Couch. Today we need to talk about Elon, specifically this. Now, this is the first serious bio of Elon Musk, as opposed to, say, write-ups and hit pieces in the media and on the internet. And its arrival is very well timed, as over the next couple of years he's likely to become even more of a greater household name than he is now. Now, originally, he didn't want to cooperate with the author, Ashlee Vance, which would make that guy's job a lot harder. But as Mr. Vance says he was going to be doing it anyway, eventually Elon decided to cooperate. Better to be on the inside pissing out, as they say. Now, you can understand, of course, why Elon wasn't keen on cooperating, despite what appears at times to be a very pleasant public persona. You know, he's obviously very controlled and private, and cooperating with the biographer must have been like sticking needles in his eyes, willingly, I expect. So, this book, it covers Elon's life in chronological order. His life in South Africa, growing up as a nerd getting bullied, which is certainly something I can empathise with, being called names at school, all the usual things. And also his father being cold, unemotional and very hard. It also details his time in Canada and at university, both in Canada and the United States, as well as clearing up some minor biographical inconsistencies that have followed Elon around, like did he actually get his degrees and was he ever enrolled at Stanford? The answer is yes to both of those questions, obviously. Now, it explores his time in Silicon Valley in the late 1990s, the setup of his first companies. It's all very enjoyable. Some of the lengths they have to go to, it's funny, they're literally living hand to mouth. And then, of course, they hit it big, you know. It's like from one state to another. First with Zip2 and then with X.com/PayPal. It also details the board wars that resulted in him getting kicked out of his own company. And to this day, he says PayPal is not what it was meant to be, is a mere shadow of its full potential. And he's thought about trying to buy it back, but to be honest, he's got other things on his plate now, obviously. Maybe in the future he'll look at that again, but I think it may be on his to-do list, but it's not at the top. Now, it also goes into a lot of depth on the founding of Tesla in the pre-Elon days, before he came on board during the funding rounds, as well as, obviously, when he joined. The battles with Martin Eberhard, then the troubles with Henry Fisker and the initial Model S designs, and eventually the arrival of Franz von Holhausen, who's the designer now, as well as a comprehensive history of Tesla from its inception until, well, probably like last year, I would say. The troubles in 2008, the government loans, problems with the Roadster, launch of the Model S and its initial problems, and the near sale to Google in 2013, all very fascinating stuff. That stuff about Google's only really started to come out since this book was published. I think as at Business Insider, they've been accused of just taking all the juicy bits from this book and publishing them as fresh stories. I'll leave that to for you guys to figure out. Now, in a similar vein to how he discusses Tesla and various other chapters, it also discusses the evolution of SpaceX, which of all of Elon's companies is the one that most bears his imprint. There's also a brief summary of others who have tried to make reusable rockets work, you know, and no one has managed it so far. Elon is the closest, of course. There's a lot about the early days down in Kwajalein, that atoll in the South Pacific, where they conducted their initial launch attempts from. It's almost like boys' own stuff, it really is. Some tropical island, no facilities to speak of, hacking your way through the jungle, having to clear the path from the launch from where you're ascending the rocket to the launch pad, and you're not allowed to build a road because that would cost too much money. They're rolling it on logs like some ancient Egyptian technology. It's very interesting that such a high-tech thing as a rocket would rely on logs rolling it to the landing pad. That's absolutely fascinating. And there's insight from the senior people at SpaceX as well. Say Gwynne Shotwell, who's obviously, I think, is president, I think. Very, very interesting. The main thing I got from the various histories of his companies in this book, he's driven. He doesn't suffer fools gladly, or at all, in fact. And this is clear in the way that he fires people mercilessly for very little, you know. Although, you know, Elon, he thinks at a different level to the rest of us. And he sees things that we don't. And he doesn't tolerate mediocrity. I mean, his employees, you know, they fear and idolise him at the same time, which is quite a feat. Anytime you have to have dealings with him, it could end up with you getting fired, you know. I mean, oh, I don't know if I would want to have a boss like that. I think I mentioned previously, never meet your idols, you know. He doesn't show loyalty to his employees, although they're clearly, as I said, devoted to him. I mean, his long-term secretary is essentially like his Pepper Potts, shall we say. He's fired like that, 14 years service, gone. Because she went on holiday, he did her job while she was gone, decided it wasn't worth it. It's like, oh, Elon, you can't take on everything. Yes, you can do all these things. Concentrate on what's important, I think. However, generally speaking, the way to earn someone's loyalty, this is from the Elon Musk perspective, is perhaps not to be constantly in awe and pining over them all the time. That's probably why the very senior people at SpaceX, and as I'm thinking of Franz von Holzhausen, JP Straubel, Gwynne Shotwell, that's probably why they're still there. Although, who knows, they could be gone in an instant also. Now, obviously, a book about Elon Musk is also going to cover his private life. His marriages, his divorces, the very sad death of his first son, the arrival of his 5 sons, the twins and the triplets. And, you know, when I saw Elon Musk doing the Ice Bucket Challenge a year or so ago, all of his sons look exactly like him. They are mini Elons. Maybe they're clones, who knows. Oh no, I didn't mean that. Now, obviously, it chronicles his youth in South Africa, and there's lots of conversations with his ex-wife, Justine Musk, which obviously you have to take with a grain of salt, because she will have her own agenda. There was nothing, I would say, in there that was particularly vicious, you know. Apparently that all got played out in the media several years ago. Anyway, she's probably all vicious out, as it were. So, anyway, Elon Musk by Ashlee Vance. I'd say it's an excellent addition to anyone's library. If you're interested in tech in the future, you should read this. It's a very important book on the towering figure of our age. I didn't learn that much I didn't already know, but filling in detail is always good. It gives a much more comprehensive picture, rather than just the broad brushstrokes that everyone's familiar with. It is not a hatchet job by any means, but neither is it a love-in, this book. I'd say it's pretty balanced. You know, there was that thing about Elon Musk, he was complaining about the email where supposedly he told a Tesla employee he was disappointed because he didn't attend a Tesla event in favour of attending the birth of his child. Well, having read the book, I'd say there's definitely a ring of truth that something like that could happen. Or that's, I think, one of only 2 things in the entire book that Elon Musk disputes. Well, I think we can give him the benefit of the doubt. And besides, it would hardly be a surprise if some billionaire fired someone. Right, as I say, this book is pretty balanced. And it certainly shows Elon's flaws, you know, especially in interpersonal relations. But, you know, at that end of the IQ scale, people think and act differently from the rest of us. Often at the expense of their empathy and compassion, they can kind of tend to get switched off. And there's always a chance you could end up becoming some whack job, you know, too smart, no empathy, sociopath. So, as the author says, though, Elon does not have those particular qualities, you know, empathy, compassion, on a human level, interpersonal. But he has them instead on a species level, you know, hence the desire to preserve humanity and save the planet. He's thinking of all of us, not just the individual. Individuals, you know, they can be important, but when you're trying to save the whole, you can't have time to be holding people's hands, you know. If he gets us to Mars and manages to cut climate change here on Earth, then it will have been worth it. Anyway, guys, that was just my thoughts on Elon Musk by Ashlee Vance. I would definitely recommend you reading it. Anyone who's interested in technology, how things are going to play out over the next few years, or Elon Musk, you should definitely pick it up. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content. Leave me a comment or a suggestion for an upcoming book you'd like to see discussed, or hit that like button.